Hello YouTubers and welcome to my new toy review. This time I'm going to show you a figure that I made myself, and this is Bearded He-Man or Savage He-Man or whatever you want to call him. As you can see, he kind of looks like He-Man did in the 2000 and in the cartoon that was on in the early 2000s. I really like that look. I especially like the look they used for King Grayskull, and I know that King Grayskull had already Masters of the Universe classic figure released. Actually, I think that was the first Masters of the Universe Classics figure that was ever released. But to tell you the truth, I never really liked in his design his two kind of pigtails in front, and when I came across this Aquaman figure, I immediately thought what great of a He-Man figure it would be with a beard. So this was originally a Justice League Unlimited Aquaman figure, and I only just removed his head because I think the head sculpt is just terrific on this figure. I think he looks very well as He-Man. So what I really did is just put on the head of that Aquaman figure onto Masters of the Universe Classics, which was originally a Zodac figure. The reason behind that was it was really cheap. So that was the cheapest figure I could afford to get. So I used his body. I added some painted details for his beard. As you can see, some darker highlights, and also in his hair. I tried to hide his clamshell on his crown thingy. I was not very successful at that, but I just really liked the way the hair was designed and how it flows. I think it looks very natural and very cool, and I just wanted to see that on a He-Man figure. And for a while I was really torn between having this in a blonde version or making like a Wonder Bread He-Man version with brown hair, but then I decided to have it in blonde and to have the classic He-Man look. Well, if you know that Zodac figure, you probably know that his forearms and his hands are colored gray, and also his forearm guards are in this weird futuric shape that did not work well with He-Man. So I repainted them and added these fur parts to cover up the futuristic spikes that he has on his forearm. So I kind of just used a hot glue gun and just squirted some hot glue, waited until it dried, and then painted it brown to give it kind of like a furry look. I think it worked quite well, and I chose to go with this copper color for the armbands. Also, these dots, they are kind of uneven, unfortunately. I used the same method, just put drops of hot glue and waited until it dried, and that gave it this effect. I was kind of going for the same one he has on the belt. I decided to use the same color on the belt too, and as you can see, this is the original gray color of his shin guards. And also on the top of the shin guards he had those weird spike thingies, and I just covered them up with hot glue too and painted them brown so it resembles fur. I did the same thing with the boots really. I just put some hot glue and made it look like it's made out of fur. So I was kind of going for a fur boot with metal shin guards kind of look, and I think it looks nice. I'm really satisfied with the way how it turned out. For the armor, I used the armor piece from an old 2000X He-Man figure. As you can see, it's the same. as this action figure has. I use the same from an action figure from this line, and even though the Masters of the Universe body is a bit more robust, but I still think that this armor looks quite nice on this figure. The only problem I faced with the armor is that it's quite difficult to put on because of the way of the head. The head is not easily removable like it is on the regular classics figures. Its articulation is a little bit more hindered too, mostly because of the hair. The hair is not really a soft plastic, so it's quite hard and you can't really turn the head or move it up and down. First of all, it wasn't on a ball joint on the original figure, so it was quite difficult to get the ball jointed peg that the classics figure have into it. So I'm really happy it stays in place well. I had to use some hot water to make this plastic a little bit more softer so that I could put the peg in, but on the other hand you can't really move the head, and basically that makes putting on the armor quite difficult. So you can manage, but it's not an easy task. As you can see, the head articulation is okay, sort of, when you don't have the armor on, but unfortunately the armor hinders most of the articulation for the head. The figure retains its original articulation. I'm not going through with that. The only articulation that's missing is the head articulation. I had to repaint the loincloth too, because here you can see the original color was the same as this one, kind of like grayish. So I painted it brown to have it in sync with the fur on the arms and on the boots. But since the original Zodac torso has some body hair sculpted on the chest and even on the back, I figured it would be fun to add some colors to it and see how it would look with a blonde color scheme. I also figured that adding some colors to the hair would make this figure look a little bit more savage-like, and I kind of liked that idea. For a while I wasn't sure, maybe it turned out a little bit too yellow. I'm still not sure about it, but I sort of like the way it is right now, and I like the fact that most of it is hidden by the armor, but still you can see some, and I think it gives the figure a little bit more wide look. I'm posing this figure usually with this sword, which is also just a regular 2000X Masters of the Universe He-Man sword. I added some paint details, like I painted all the green parts gold here. I left the green here because it would be just chipped off by the hand anyway, but I painted these green parts gold. And of course you can still open the sword. He can hold it quite well, and I think he looks cool with it. I think he kind of looks like a more mature, older, wiser version of He-Man, maybe one from the future. I kind of like this concept, and that's usually what I have in mind when I'm posing him with my other figures. As you can see, he looks and poses with other Masters of the Universe Classics figures very well. Even though he's wearing the armor of an earlier version of He-Man, I don't think the whole setup is off in any sort of way, and I think he looks very cool with my other classics figures. So I think he's definitely a great addition for this ragtag team that I have here assembled. I was not really a passionate collector of this line. I really only bought the figures that I especially liked, so I think in that sense he fits in quite well. Altogether, I'm really satisfied with how this figure turned out. I'm not a professional figure customizer, so I don't have that much experience with stuff like that, but I really like the way it looks, and I like to have this figure in my collection. So I hope you like this review, and I hope you like my figure. Thank you for watching, stay tuned for more, take care, and goodbye.